The brain starter here is asking, what's the length of an intercepted arc with an angle of 45 degrees and a radius of 10 feet? Now, recall that the formula for arc length is the arc length equals the radius times the angle measure in radians. Pause your video now so you can solve this problem. I'll go over the answer in 3, 2, 1. To solve this, the first thing you need to do is convert 45 degrees to radians. So 45 times pi over 180, those will cancel out and get you 1/4, and 45 degrees is equal to pi over 4 radians. So let's start plugging things into this formula. The arc length equals the radius of 10 times pi over 4. So the arc length is equal to 10 pi over 4, which you can reduce to 5 pi over 2. Using a calculator and rounding that to the nearest tenth, you'll see that the arc length is about 7.9 feet. Today we're going to be looking at how to calculate sector area. Now a sector is like a wedge of a circle, or like a pizza slice of some size. And we're going to find the area of it. The formula for the area is 1/2 times the radius squared times the angle measure in radians. Now this may look strange, but we're going to consider one specific case where it'll make a lot more sense. Specifically, we're going to look at the case where theta equals 2 pi radians. Now stop and think, why did I choose 2 pi radians for the case that we're considering? I chose 2 pi because 2 pi is equal to 360 degrees, or the whole circle. So the sector itself would actually just be the entire area of the circle. Now let's see what happens when we plug 2 pi in. We have 1/2 radius squared times 2 pi. Well, this 2 and this 1/2 will cancel out, and then you're just left with pi times the radius squared, which is of course the formula for the area of a circle. Here we're given two problems where you have to find the sector area given an angle and a radius. The first one asks for an angle of 3 pi over 4 and a radius of 1.5 feet. And the second one asks for an angle of 50 degrees and a radius of 6 meters. Pause your video now so you can solve these problems, and I'll go over the answers in 3, 2, 1. For the first problem, the area equals 1/2 times the radius squared, which is 1.5 squared, and the angle measure in radians, which is 3 pi over 4. Now, when we do this, we can start simplifying some things, and I'm going to combine the 1/2 and the 3 pi over 4 to give me 3 pi over 8, and then that is multiplied by 2.25, or 1.5 squared. Using a calculator, you'll see that the area is approximately 2.65 square feet. For the second problem here, the first thing you need to do is convert this 50 degrees to radians. So what you would do is do 50 times pi over 180, which all you can do here is cancel out these by a factor of 10, and you're left with 5 pi over 18. And that's your angle in radians. So now we can plug it in. The area equals 1/2 times the radius, 6 squared, times the angle of 5 pi over 18, which equals, combining the half and this again, we're left with 5 pi over 36, times 6 squared is 36, so these 36's will cancel out, leaving you with 5 pi for the sector area. Or plugging it into the calculator, you get approximately 15.7 square meters.